Okay, thank you for joining us today for this discussion on exoskeletons. And for those who don't know me, my name is Paul Jones, um, and I'm the manager of the National AgrAbility Project. Today, we're going to have several perspectives on exoskeletons in agriculture. We've got Ned Stoller from Michigan AgrAbility and also a consultant with the National AgrAbility Project. Be talking mostly about upper body exoskeletons. Roberto Franco from Virginia AgrAbility is going to be talking about the research that they've done out there, and I believe that focuses mostly on upper body prosthetic or exoskeletons. And then Karen Funkenbusch from Missouri AgrAbility is going to be talking about their initiatives, and she has invited Doug Boswell, who is one of their farmer clients, who is also an exoskeleton user, who is going to be sharing also. So our format today, we make these events discussions rather than webinars. We want them to be interactive. But since we do have three different presenters, we're going to let them do their individual presentations first. They're going to try to limit those to about 10 minutes apiece. If you have questions or thoughts you'd like to share while they're presenting, I recommend you use the chat for that, or just write down your questions and remember them, because then after everybody's finished, we'll open up the microphones and let you ask questions verbally if you'd prefer to do that. Right now, everybody's muted, but we'll plan to, again, open those up for a Q&A period later. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Ned Stoller, and then we'll move on to Roberto, and then finally Karen and Doug.
Thank you, Paul. I don't want this to be too much of a presentation. I look forward to getting to the discussion part after we've all kind of shared the background information to start this discussion. So exoskeletons are a wearable device on the outside of a person's body that augment our physical ability to do tasks, help us lift our arms, straighten our backs, move our legs. And there's really two major categories: passive exoskeletons that use springs to help us with those motions and mechanical advantage, and then the powered ones that would use electrical motors to give powered motion. So I'm going to talk about several different brands of exoskeletons that my clients have tried out. This first one is a springs back. It costs about $700. And this was an exoskeleton before exoskeletons were cool. It was invented by an auto mechanic who had to lean over his vehicles all day and got a sore back. So this is one of my clients. I'll let him talk about it a little bit.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Huffman. I'm a farmer outside of Funkenbusch, Michigan. What seems a lifetime ago, I used to be a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and my back doesn't work so good. For a long time, Ned Stoller, the executive director of AgrAbility here in the state of Michigan, has been an advisor and really trying to help me be more successful at farming. And so this device is made for people with lower back issues, and it was actually invented by a car mechanic so that we can take, and the spring will actually hold my weight. And so when I lean down like this, there's no pressure on my lower back. Normally if I have to lean over like this, it's about 15 minutes until I have to stop working because the pain gets so intense. But when I use this device, I can actually sit and I can lean over like this, and there's absolutely no pressure on my lower back. And quite frankly, it's just amazing. And so it allows me to do stuff that quite frankly I could not do for very long. And it's given me a lot of...
So you could see that when Jeremy used his springs back, he bent way over with it. It's adjustable. So this grower here just needed to be bent at a very slight angle, sorting apples on his cider line, and he could tighten the spring way up so that he just bent sort of like if somebody was washing dishes at a kitchen sink, and he was supported in that position also. And here he is using it for picking strawberries. So the springs back can work various levels. It's not suited well for women users just because of how it pushes on a person's chest when they stand up and bend down. So after using the springs back for a number of years, I learned about the Levitate exoskeleton, and it's worn more like a backpack, and it is very comfortable for women to use. And so I was able, with Michigan Rehabilitation Services voc rehab funding, to provide her with a Levitate exoskeleton. She's a farrier and hay farmer. It fits on like a backpack around the waist. All of these back support exoskeletons, there's several different brands of them, but they press on a person's thigh, and then there's some sort of a spring between the thigh and the waistband, and then rods that somehow hold up the person's torso. So here's a picture of her using it in the shop. And it kind of helps you stand back up. When I was demonstrating this at the Growers Expo this year, there was a person having trouble getting up and down off of the ground, and she tried this on, and the springs, they compressed as she lowered herself down to the ground, and then they helped push her back up when she stood up again. So that's another benefit, not just for the lower back support. When I was in Japan this last fall, I was with a researcher who's doing international standards, developing standards for exoskeletons, and this is a Japanese brand. These are really being designed and funded by the industrial sector as ergonomic devices to prevent musculoskeletal injuries from repetitive motions, reaching overhead in factories and things. But obviously we're learning they have a lot of uses for farmers with disabilities as assistive technology. This is the Exobionics exoskeleton for shoulder support. And this one's unique from all the others that it straps around the person's waist, and there's no shoulder straps that go all the way around like a backpack on this one. It's just a real rigid waist belt, rods that come up from that, and then spring-loaded supports that hook onto a person's arms. All of the shoulder exoskeletons lift between a person's shoulder and elbow and help hold their arms up. So this is in a milking parlor where a person has to reach forward frequently. And really that's where the shoulder exoskeleton is designed, reaching out in front of you or up overhead. And they can generally be adjusted for different strength of springs if you're holding a heavier or lighter weight tool. Like in a milking parlor, it's not real heavy load. Lots of reaching out, or maybe tapping maple trees, reaching forward with a drill. There's other tools that are a lot heavier. It might be stronger springs for, like a pole saw for pruning apple trees. This is another brand. This is the Airframe exoskeleton. It costs a bit more, $4,000. You put it on like a backpack with a waist belt and then shoulder straps around the shoulders, and then there's spring-loaded arm supports. There's kind of a learning curve for how to put them on and take them off on all of these, but they can generally be done by the individual using it. And here's a picture of the Airframe with the fruit grower holding his pruner, and we're going to take this out when he starts pruning his trees this spring and have him tested in the field for a few hours. And here is in a dairy farm setting. This person is the cow breeder and has to push and pull levers a lot to automatically catch cattle in the headlocks. And so he was testing out the Airframe. For him, it didn't work because actually what was causing him pain in his shoulders was when he had to put his arms out in front of him and push down. And so this was a situation where the exoskeleton was the wrong thing. It was not good assistive technology for him. Here he is trying the Hilti exoskeleton. It's a $1,500 tool. Hilti is a construction industry tool maker, and It's a pretty simple design with springs and cables pull in and help hold up the weight of a person's arms. And here's one of my clients that makes apple cider, demonstrating how he holds the flat trays out and stacks them up for making cider, and the exoskeleton helping support his arms for that. So we'll take questions later on, but I'll be happy to answer them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Roberto, if you'd like to go ahead and share your slides, you're welcome to do that. Looks good.
Can we see it well?
Yep, looks good.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Paul. Hello, everybody. My name is Roberto Franco. I'm the program coordinator for AgrAbility Virginia, a partnership between Virginia Tech, Virginia State University, Virginia Cooperative Extension, and Eastern Seals Port Health. Today, I will be talking to you about a project we conducted a few years back. If I'm able to move my slides, there you go. So I will be talking about the human-centered design and accessibility on the Farm National Science Foundation project. I will go objective, methodology, results, conclusion, and also what have been happening post-research. Back exoskeleton experiments are ongoing right now at Virginia Tech, potential farm use, and few closing remarks. So what is this human-centered design and accessibility on the farm? This was an idea born from different scientists and engineers at Virginia Tech, from the mechanical engineering department, industrial engineering department, our department, the AgrAbility, agricultural leadership and community education department, as well as a group from Torque Robotics and Total Motions, which are a group of physical therapists down in Blacksburg, Virginia. So this partnership, this group came together as part of the Partnership for Innovation National Science Foundation grant. And this grant was called the Affordable Flexible Robotics Technology to Enhance Work Performance on Farmers with Mobility Restrictions. What I will be focusing today is on the understanding farmers' perspective. Grant. So this was a 3-year grant. It was close to $1 million grant, and it was divided in 3 sections. The service provider survey that happened in year 1, farmers interviews, that is what I will be talking about, that happened in year 1, and also we were looking into a control setting evaluation of a previously designed exoskeleton at Virginia Tech that was being tested at Lowe's at the time of this study, and finally doing a test on farm and see how it did work there. Unfortunately, something happened after year 1, that was 2019, and the control evaluation was supposed to happen in 2020. But as you can remember, that was not a goal. So the main objective for this research was to look into understanding the farmer's perception and perspective on this assistive technology, and how a back support, knee support, and hand support will work on a farm setting. Also, we wanted to look into potential benefits and also limitations on this application, or this robotic application on farm. What will affect adoption of the technology? And also, we were looking into how this participatory research will work, because part of the idea of bringing all these folks together was to include the farmers from the very beginning of the design process, to have them talk to the mechanical engineers and the industrial engineers about the pros and cons they saw in the design. If you look to the picture that I have to the right, more or less that's what we were aiming for, having a back support as a passive technology that Ned talked about with a power, and also having a hand glove as well as a knee brace that will be active or power systems. Oh, sorry, I went backwards. So this happened, we started in 2019 to do this, to interview farmers. There was, of course, approved by the Institutional Research Board at Virginia Tech. It was we interviewed the farmers around 90 minutes in a semi-structured interview. And we recruited through the AgrAbility Virginia listserv, as well as the Virginia Beginning Farmers and Ranchers Coalition. Something that we couldn't do was to have at that time an example of the exoskeletons so the farmers could try them. So we ended up showing them pictures of different type of exoskeletons, as well as a video of the Lowe's prototype that you see in the picture to the upper right. The questions were, of course, related to potentials on farm use, safety risk, and factors that might affect adoption or discourage people to use it. So what we found was very interesting. Our questionnaire was based on a previous survey to service providers, Ts and PTs that were with AgrAbility Virginia, and some point, and also members of the Department of Foraging and Rehabilitative Services at Virginia. And what we found is that farmers were very willing to try this technology. They have no hesitation of trying to use it and see how it will work for them. However, there were some concerns and things that they would like to see. For instance, if the exoskeleton was inactive, meaning using power, they would like to receive some kind of feedback from it, alarms, if it was too hot, temperature gauges, etc. They wanted to be customizable, if possible. And also, they would like to learn to use it in group settings rather than individually. That's what we found, as well as easy of maintenance, fixing, and troubleshooting. So right to fix was very important for the farmers we interviewed. Also, they stated that it needed to be non-obstructive. That was very important, that because one of the concerns with the original design that was being tested at Lowe's was protrusions of the carbon fiber over the head that could be caught on a farming setting. So that was one of the main concerns. Also, weatherproofing and easy to clean. And another thing that we never thought about was adjustability. If you can imagine, this design was done at Virginia Tech by undergrads and graduate students, young, fit males mostly, which is not the case for most of our farmers. So that was another concern they have, that is also easy to put on or take it off. And of course, cost. How much it will cost? Can we put it in, included in insurance? Can we pay for the insurance? How can we pay for it? So those were the main concerns we found. So in conclusion, that's what farmers, they see it as a promising tool to do farm work. But from the point of view of farmer-centered design, we think it's very important to include farmers' perspective on this design. So from the very beginning, we can have a feedback from usability and how it will fit on the body, etc. And of course, have the design to be low cost is a must, and being able to independently keep it going, maintenance wise and cleaning wise, that will help adoption. Right quick, this is what is happening after this research ended. One of the members of our team, Dr. Alexander Leonesa, has continued doing research and updating the design. And the picture that you see to the right, I'm sorry, is what has been the evolution of the original design from Lowe's. And in this case, he's testing different sensors to create a model that you can see to the left on and simulate. It's a simulation of how the exoskeleton will work on a person doing different tasks. And the tasks that has been identified, including climbing ladders, bending forward, pushing and pulling, then bend and walking as well, shoveling, and I say walking. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Roberto. Appreciate your work there, and look forward to hearing more in the future. So now we'll turn things over to Karen and Doug for their perspective from Missouri. Again, feel free to enter any questions into the chat or keep them for our question and answer period where you can ask questions verbally. You're muted, Karen.
Let's unmute and then let's start from the beginning again. And then now, okay, can everyone see the slides?
Not yet. Nope.
How about this situation?
Not seeing anything yet.
Uh,
You're using share down at the bottom.
Yep, I did the share out. Are we still able to see now?
Not seeing anything yet.
Well, let's try this again.
There we go.
There we go. And then now let's go from the start. I apologize. Is that better?
Looks good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So in Missouri, we're going to do things a little differently. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the rewalk, and we're going to talk about how it's a wearable robotic exoskeleton. We're going to talk a little bit about what we do. We're also going to then share some information. We're going to let Doug, who is actually the wearer and the user of the robotic, and he's going to share from his perspective about I'm going to say the good, the bad, the ugly of using this lower extremity exoskeleton. So in Missouri, like all other states, we do these on-the-farm assessments, and then we go about suggesting technologies. And so in Missouri, we're blessed. We're blessed because we have a fee-for-service agreement. We not only have one, but we have two. And one of our funders is vocational rehabilitation. And so 5 years ago, we did an on-the-farm assessment with Doug. And at that time, the exoskeleton was not available. What we did recommend was the stand-up wheelchair. And that was recommended. All of the devices that we asked for as a need back 5 years ago was fully funded by vocational rehabilitation. In 2024, with our new fee-for-service agreement, we moved under a new unit, and this new unit of where we moved to has a very good understanding and knowledge base of technology. That's their background, that's their understanding, and that is where we are to date. We're not even in a full year of this new fee-for-service agreement under a new umbrella for AgrAbility. The question was asked, has it been paid by Voc Rehab? We don't know yet because we Again, this was not available back 5 years ago. And so we have not asked yet for a exoskeleton. In 2024, this brings us to where we are. In 2024, the exoskeleton and the Indigo was FDA approved. The Rewalk Personal exoskeleton and the other Indigo, as I just indicated, those two were Medicaid approved, Medicare approved, and we encouraged Doug to apply and see if he could get this device using a Medicare approved process. So the next couple of slides, what Doug is going to do is he's going to explain from his perspective some things that have happened moving forward. And then also in March, Doug will be coming to the National AgrAbility Conference. He is bringing his exoskeleton. He is going to demonstrate it, and he's also bringing his physical therapist. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Doug and let Doug then start walking us through this process that he went through to get his exoskeleton.
All right, the first thing I done was, then it was called Rewalk. Life word is about Rewalk out. That's why it says life word on it. But I applied to Rewalk about the exoskeleton. I looked at it 5 or 6 years ago and I couldn't get it then. But anyway, I found out that it was approved, or that they were trying to get it for home use. So I filled out their application, which didn't take very long at all. And they're supposed to get back with you in about 2 weeks or so. And mine took about a month before they got back with me. And when they found that out, they was pretty aggravated with the people. But anyway, they got back with me on it. Also, I found out about Indigo and filled out their deal. And Indigo got back with me the same day. Rewalk got back with me like a week later. Because of that, I was able to try both units out. But anyway, Rewalk got back with me. Once Rewalk got back with me, they just took off running with it. Indigo was just doing whatever Rewalk told them to do, or what they was telling me to do. So Rewalk told me I had to go to the doctor's first and get a prescription done for my doctor saying that, yes, I can do the exo. So I went to my doctor, and she'd done a DEXA scan on me to make sure my bones was healthy enough to do it. And also checked me for pressure sores, make sure I didn't have no pressure sores. And then she sent a prescription in to Rewalk saying that I could do it. And so then Rewalk had me fill out a couple more pieces of paperwork. And let me think here. And then they done a Zoom meeting with me first. And they wanted to see whether or not I could do transfers on my own, because I got to be able to transfer in and out of the machine. And wanted to see how flexible I was, see how much my toes would come back towards my shin, whether or not could get my ankle point there back to zero or not, or whether or not I had foot drop or not. So they measured that on that. And then they set up a time for me to come up and walk with it there at Mercy and there in Springfield. Well, as this was going on, Indigo done the same thing. Whatever Rewalk wanted me to do, they did. I went and walked on the Indigo first up in Kansas City. I walked for probably no more than 15 minutes. I had a 1 hour session, but they had to set it to me. It all comes apart, which is neat about the Indigo. It's real small. It snaps together. There's 5 different parts to it. And I walked for about no more than 15 minutes. And the big thing Rewalk said about the Indigo was the motors would get hot at your knees. So when I sat down with the Indigo, I felt to the knee motors, and the knee motors was warm. They weren't hot, but they were warm. So that kind of concerned me, because I was worried about burning myself, because I can't feel nothing on my legs. I'm completely paralyzed. And then I walked on the Rewalk the next day, and I walked for probably, what was neat about them, they had a team of 4 people come down, and I walked on it for almost 2.5 hours. I mean, they let me walk and walk and walk and walk to make sure this is what I wanted. And when they bring the Rewalk to you, it is fit to you already. They've already got all your measurements from you that they need. And when it shows up, it is a brand spanking new one that is fit to you. So it's adjustable stuff on the leg length. I think you can go 6 foot 2 inches. And then they could adjust the hips and all that stuff for your hips and your thighs and all that stuff to make sure that's okay. And they came down and I just got in it, took off walking. It was already fitted to me. Everything was great. And then whenever I decided I wanted that, I signed the piece of paper, and that rewalk wasn't one I was trying. That was my rewalk. It was made for me. It was that quick. Indigo, when I talked to them about it, they said they get all the measurements for me once I decide to go with them. And 2 weeks later, the robot comes to me. The rewalk has got a 5-year warranty on it, and I've been using the heck out of that warranty. I've fallen so much and tore it up, and they come back and they fix it. They're Johnny on the spot. Within a week and a half, they're there. Most of them it's a couple days. Depends on what I tear up on it. But they've been awesome so far. But I got to walk on it. I've done 39 sessions with it, and I've learned how to get up when I fall down. I've learned how to go up and down inclines. We'll go up and down stairs. I can go up and down stairs with this. I can go up onto a curb and come back down off of a curb. So I can do all that stuff with it. After 39 sessions is what they had set up for me. 37 sessions is what it was whenever I was able to come home with it the first time. And I walked over 100,000 steps with it here at the house, just around the back patio back there. And then I went back and they turned the stair session on. And I just got it back about a week ago. From that, I got to graduate from that. So now I can go up downstairs and all that with it. I've had used it a little bit in my shop to carry tool back and forth to a vehicle. I want to figure out, try to how to use it to walk out on my ground and stuff, to walk from one vehicle to the next. Like from one tractor to the next, from the vehicle to the tractor. Only thing that's kind of cumbersome about it is trying to figure out how to get in the vehicle with it to where I'm not going to my house, walking to my truck, having to get back out of it, get back in my truck, and then bring it up there to the shop or wherever, the hay equipment, whatever I'm going to work on or whatever, put it back on. Sometimes it just feels like it's really not worth messing with it. Don't take that long to get in and out of, but just something else you got to do. And when you're paralyzed, you're slow anyway, you know? And so you try to save much time as you can when you're working on something. But I did have a study with Arizona State University the other day, and they recommend, because they seen the lift that AgrAbility helped pay for the back of my truck. So their question was whether or not I could get on the lift and pick it up and stick me in my pickup so I ain't got to take it off. And I've already transferred with it on from a church pew to a chair because I couldn't get up from the church pew. And so I can definitely do that. So that's my next deal, see when I can make that figure out how to make that work. But I'm just trying different things on the farm with it. I have worked on my vehicles with it, worked on my tractor with it, and then I'm trying to figure out how to get in and out of vehicles with it. Do we have another slide there, Karen?
That would be it. And so we can turn it back over to Ned so that Ned can open it up for discussion.
Karen, did you have a slide of Doug actually using it? I was thinking I saw you had one when we were looking before that showed him in a video.
We do have a video, but I did not put it in because because I'm working from home and my broadband's not very good. I was afraid that it would not pop open.
Okay, no problem.
If you wanted to go out, we could go out to our Facebook page because there is a video. You could also go out and Google Doug Boswell, and there are several videos that are actually showing him walking with the rewalk on.
Yeah, I just thought I'd seen that before when we were rehearsing or something. I just wasn't sure about that. Okay, well, thanks, Karen and Doug. Also, we do have a few questions in the chat right now, and we'll go through those and then open up the microphone and see if people have questions. So I think, Ned, while you were talking, Doug asked about the exoskeleton. Would the shoulder and back help him from falling forward?
I don't think so.
See, this is what I done the other day. Arizona State University come and done a deal with me, and they wanted me to brush my teeth at the sink with the robot on and walk around the house, get stuff out of the refrigerator, go to the sink and the kitchen sink and actually wash dishes and stuff. But when I went to brush my teeth, for me to get down there and get water out of the faucet and rinse my mouth out, I had to undo the two top straps. And I did that because I have no core strength. I didn't just fall over. I went over real easy with my hands and stuff. But then when I went to come back up, I couldn't stable myself up good enough to put those two straps on. So that's my question was, would that help me keep my core up to where I can do stuff like that around the house with that robot with both of them on? Or can I not
think
do that?
Yeah, I don't think that the current ones I've used, the passive ones are not going to do that for you, Doug. But it might be the next level for your robot to have something that helps you bend down and stand back up, straighten back up. But these are all what I've been using. They're all spring loaded, and they just help you do what you do with less effort. So
Okay.
it's not gonna physically, like if you're lifting and carrying a box, it might take 8 pounds worth of that box off of your back, but you still have to make your muscles do the function, the general movements. So,
Okay.
So one of the questions that seems to pop up a lot is paying for these. And so Doug, how did yours get paid for? And also a question to Ned or Karen as to whether they've had success with VR yet.
Mine got paid for through Medicare. And they told me, Rewalk told me, and so did Indigo, told me that Medicare would pay for 75% of it, and my secondary insurance would pay for 25% of it. And then while I was going through the process, I started mine end of February. They still didn't have it approved yet. They was working on it. Both of them was. And in fact, Indigo kept saying they was approved, but I don't know if they were or not. But anyway, when it was said and done, the Rewalk at first on the website said it was $95,000. Then when I received my Rewalk in February, they said it was $125,000. And then since then, they said it's $175,000. So I'm thinking what they done, because I ain't paid nothing. My secondary insurance ain't paid nothing. So I'm thinking they jacked it up and made it to where the 75% that Medicare would pay for paid for the robot. Because I haven't seen them receive a bill, and neither has my Aetna secondary insurance has received a bill. But Medicare basically paid for it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I've not done a powered robot exoskeleton like this, but I have had several of the back support ones paid for by vocational rehabilitation. And I'm in conversations right now with our Michigan Rehab Services about a shoulder support one for a maple syrup producer that needs to be holding a drill out in front of him for a lot of hours a day. So we'll see how that turns out. It's in process.
yeah, in Missouri, like I said earlier, we do have a fee for service agreement. We did move under a new umbrella. Their background is technology. They have a strong technology background. Some of them do have an ag background, while others do not. In Missouri, it is expected that at a multitude of levels, when we do that on the farm assessment, so that case manager is going to go, that district supervisor may go. We have a new rock star individual who now has taken over. She's been on the job since January 1. And so she is taking a very active role in understanding what does AgrAbility do and how does it work within the grand scheme of things of vocational rehabilitation. So we have a whole team of individuals that go out. We also take out an ag engineer. We also take out an OT or PT. We take out a lot of individuals to help us see actually what is needed in order for us to recommend these adapted and assisted devices. I can speculate, and I don't know that for a fact, but if we were to write in our report that this was a warranted device, under the new guidance that we have and where we sit today. Again, they've been very generous about what is a need in the ag sector. And they, meaning Voc Rehab and rehab services for the blind, when they have seen the need, so far we have not been denied any suggested device that removes any of those physical barriers. So I'm speculating. I don't know. I would. We'll see. We'll see. We have we're working with four other farmers that have spinal cord injuries, and we're going to suggest the exoskeleton. But we also have, this is a backup. And if you've not done it, that very first slide that Doug talked about, I did call. So those of us that do work in this arena and this space of working with doing those on the farm assessments, go fill out the form. The form takes you, it's just 3 or 4 basic questions. It's really simple. It asks you who you are. They immediately call you back. And so I called back when Doug wanted to do this. I called back and they called me and I talked to them from an AgrAbility perspective. And then how do we give guidance, support, and direction to Doug as he continues to move down this path. So again, if you've not filled out the form and you've not worked with them, give them a call and see how easy it is for you to work with your clients in your state.
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to try to share a video that was on Facebook of Doug walking. It won't have sound, but let's see if we can get it to go here. Are you able to see anything?
Yeah, we can see it.
So if you have not seen the rewalk before, that's basically what it does, and you can go and see a lot of videos online about that also. Okay, other questions that came in the chat. Let me take a look here. Is there anything out there for those with neuromuscular diseases that cause leg and knee weakness?
And I wrote on there that there's a exoskeleton that's made out of Canada. I got to see it in person when I went to Florida. I was going to rehab at Brooks Rehab at Florida. I've done it for, I think, 4 years. And I would go out there through the wintertime. And the last time I was out there, they had one, it's called Liego. And they had a person there that they had video on that MS that could barely walk and barely move, do anything. And she put this on and she was kicking a soccer ball. She was kind of running after it. She was doing different things. And then there was a guy that was a spinal cord injury that was actually there. They brought the Liego down for him to put on. And he had a little bit more core strength than what I've got. And he was able to get in it, stand up, and take off walking with it. And it's a pretty cool machine. I asked them when I could do it, and they said, my therapist out there told me I didn't have enough core strength to use that one. This other
What
guy,
is your spinal cord injury level, Doug?
mine's T11, and I'm complete. Yeah.
Okay.
But they do have stuff for people that's got weakness and muscular. It's called Liego. I've got paperwork in there somewhere in my office about it. I have to go find it for you.
All right.
So the one brand of exoskeleton that I talked about for the shoulders, Exobionics, that company markets exoskeleton for multiple sclerosis that comes all the way up around a person's shoulders and down to their legs. So like we talked earlier, this is actively being researched and developed by numerous corporations at once. So when you're asking the question, is there something for neuromuscular issues? It's probably a matter of doing the research, talking to Medicare about it, talking to your AgrAbility staff if they can help you with that research, or your doctor. But yeah, Exobionics is advertising something for multiple sclerosis.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, something else I wanted to bring up for Doug, because again, I think there's a lot of OTs or PT on board. I can see a couple of them. Doug, as a patient, executed his rights. He became a strong advocate. Doug, when I first, and that becomes really critical, as you know, when you're working for services from vocational rehabilitation or Medicare or your doctor or whomever, even with AgrAbility, he became a really strong proponent of, he was not going to not walk. I mean, when I first met him, that was his lifelong dream that he would be a walker. And we had lots of emotion all throughout this process over the last 5 years. So we even had more emotions every time Doug would go through a new, and here's a key word. Doug was very willing to go through clinical trials. And that was something that we did discuss here at the University of Missouri with him with AgrAbility. What's a clinical trial? What are the benefits of a clinical trial? And he did. He was very willing to go through various clinical trials to get where he is today. And then when the rewalk came about, the thing that folks need to know for this device is he said he had to get a prescription. So there's a pre area there first before you can get even to where Doug is. So, they have to check your shoulders and your hands. They also have to see if you have healthy bone density. They also have to make sure that you don't have any fractures up and down your skeleton. They also had to check to see if he was in good physical health. They also had to check his height. They looked at his weight. And he had to be obviously had to be over 18. And then there was that, in order to use this, you had to be at that certain level of a spinal cord injury. So those were the things that they even took into consideration before they moved him into that next level. And so if you've not encouraged your farmers to look at clinical trials, again, Doug would be one. He's been very open, very honest about that whole process of being a human subject. And so if you're interested in that and you want Doug to have, if you want to get some information from Doug, please do reach out.
Okay, thank you, Karen. One question was whether this session will be recorded, and you are recording it. I put the link to our archived discussions in the chat if you would like to review this later. We talked about your spinal cord level, injury level, and also another question about weight capacity with hauling things by hand, like a hay bale, for example. I'm not sure if that's directed to Doug or to Ned, or
Yeah, it would be
I'll
me.
just throw it out. What did you say something? Okay. Any thoughts, Ned, on that, or?
There's no way I can make a hay bale with my rewalk. There's no way. So Dad do it through Ned.
Yeah.
So with dogs, he has to use canes to help with balance. And we were just talking earlier before everyone else was on about the possibility of him being able to push a cart, like a shopping cart, that maybe you could get a bale of hay up onto and then push that around. But the back exoskeletons, they're just adjustable for how much weight you might be lifting. But once again, they're augmenting your ability to lift. It's not going to lift a whole 40-pound bale of hay for you, but it might take 12 or 13 pounds of that weight off. And the real benefit of the back support exoskeletons is balancing the weight of your torso. Like in my video that I showed, when a person's leaning forward, it balances the weight of your upper body. So.
And in terms of power on your exoskeleton, Doug, is it something you recharge, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's got a recharger that comes with it. It's a square box. It's got a lead probably about 4 or 5 foot to the wall, and then you got about a 2 or 3 foot lead come from it to the exoskeleton. It's like a round, I don't know what you call it, but it's the old round charger you used to have back in a long time ago on scat phones, stuff like that you plug into the side of it. And it's got 2 lights on the front of it. And the first light it'd be orange, both of them be orange actually. And then when the first light turns green, the second light will turn green, but the first light will stay green all the time while it's charging, and the second one will go on and off. So it's like a smart charger. And so you ain't got to worry about messing the batteries up with it. They do tell you though, if you don't use it for 2 or 3 weeks, to unplug the battery, take the back of it off, unplug it. It's got 2 lithium batteries in the back. Unplug the batteries off of it, and then when you get ready to use it, plug it back in. But I've even told the main technician from it, I've never took those batteries and unplug them. No matter if it was a week or 2, 3 weeks, or if I was using their day, and I've never had a bit problem with my batteries. And I said, you got a smart charger here, right? It turns itself on and off, right? He goes, yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. He said, if it don't, he said, it'll bunch your batteries up. But I've had it since February of last year. So, and I've never used or messed a battery up on it yet. So that's how the charger works.
Okay. Another question was, how long does it take to get in and out of it? And then have you had experiences in walking on snow or other
Oh, yeah.
weather conditions like that?
It takes about 5 minutes to probably get out of it, probably about 7 minutes to get in it. When I first started, it was taking me about 15, 20 minutes, but I've gotten way better at it. Snow and ice, anything that's wet. If it's on concrete and wet, it's not a big deal. But if it's on tile or wood or anything like that, anything that's wet, your poles are going to slide underneath of you. Snow and ice, you're not going to do it. It's sliding underneath of you in New York minute. Your poles is your balance. I mean, I did met a girl the other day that's a veteran, and she done a crazy picture of herself one day just to see if she could do it. But she stood up with her feet close together and picked the poles up straight out to the 90s of her and stood there for a couple seconds, and they took a picture of her doing it. But most time you can't do that. You just tip, because I don't have nothing up here to help me with the balance and stuff. I mean, you can just fall right over. And I had my main therapist out at Brooks get in it when I was out there last August, and she was surprised on the balance that she had to have, even though she's a well-bodied person, because it's got you strapped in from your chest, 2 strap muscles, one of your chest, one of your belly, and then the rest of you're tied in all the way down. You got a strap around your upper thigh, your lower thigh, and then you got the knee blocks here at the bottom. And when you get in it, you're completely locked in. If you usually get in it, you'd be just unbalanced as what I am. And she started to walk with it, and she almost face planted because she went to stop and couldn't stop. But it's a learning curve. You've got to learn it. There's a lot of balance. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another question was, someone works with disabled veterans. Are these covered by the VA? And I did check, and I'd heard this before, that the VA does offer exoskeleton technology to qualifying veterans with spinal cord injuries. So if you do a little web search, I'm sure you'll find out more about that.
Paul?
Yes?
Paul,
There's a
Paul, to
comment.
address that, if you go to to that website, in the very first slide that Doug, we talked about, if you go to that link, it does, one of the functionalities you can put in that you're a veteran. The rewalk actually came about first for the veterans.
Yes.
And then they opened it up for all kinds of other folks as a part of the process. But it was originally started out being approved under Medicare for veterans. So yes, it is approved.
Did you have comments?
Yeah, Paul. Sarah Bellini Ross from Oregon is on the call, and she has a lot of experience with exoskeletons and moving hay. And I wondered if you could just unmute so that she could share if she would choose to. I'd like to hear her thoughts on using the exoskeletons for moving hay.
Okay, participants should have the opportunity to unmute if they would like to do that.
Hey there, this is Sarah. So I have a small farm in Oregon where I've used and tried, over 30 different exoskeletons on my farm, and moving hay is a great task for low back exoskeletons. I've tried 8 different back exoskeletons for the task of moving hay in a range of conditions from freezing weather to 105-degree weather. really helpful, but there's definitely a lot of barriers. I also help companies around the world implement exoskeletons, both in the occupational and medical space. So it was a pleasure to join this webinar, and I'm traveling through Moab right now, so I'm in and out of reception, so I missed parts of it, but I'll put my contact information in the chat if anybody has any questions or would like to talk about finding the right exoskeleton for what you need.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
I was talking about the MS stuff a while ago, and someone was asking what the name of it, and I told them it's called Liego. It ain't called Liego. Anyway, they come back and said they couldn't find it. I found the paperwork on it. It's called Keego. It's KEEOGO, and it says plus at the end of it. But that's the one that they brought out to Brooks, and they actually had shown people that had MS and stuff. They could walk around, run in it. They could do about whatever they wanted to in it. But it was a
Okay.
neat system out of Canada.
All right. Thank you. Another question about doing horizontal work indicates she can't be vertical without passing out. Needs something to cultivate while lying down. One thing is imported from Europe, hard to access. I think there was a reply also in the chat with an example for that. But if any of the participants have comments or thoughts about that. Okay, we'll move on. Oh, there is, there is a terratech.com link in the chat for a horizontal type device to help in harvesting. A question, comment, I wonder if it might be helpful for us at North Carolina AgrAbility to purchase an all-purpose spring-loaded demo for our clients to try out. Is there one in particular that you might suggest I look into for this purpose? Ned, did you have a...
I just commented that the Hilti exoskeleton is the lowest price one to try out, and I found one on eBay for $750. So I bought it for my clients to try, and it's been very popular. I've been blessed that there's a material handling company, Morrison Industrial, nearby me that sells these, and they've loaned me the Levo Flex and the Levitate airframe exoskeletons for me to take to my clients and to use at trade shows. So I don't know. North Carolina actually has a company there that does, I think it could be called Rhino. I don't know.
And Ned, I muted you. Could you unmute yourself?
So you might find vendors in your area that sell these. A lot of material handling companies are starting to, and there's an online exoskeleton store that's, I think, based in North Carolina, and maybe they would loan you one or come with you to a client to test it or something like that. I would recommend that because they're pretty pricey to try to have one in your tool bag, I guess. Sarah mentioned the Hapo exoskeletons. I'm talking with them right now about one for a client to hold his head up when he's looking up to prune in his orchard. And I think that was $400 for that one. So you have to be creative, I guess, when they're this costly to try.
And a question for Roberto. I'll add, we're coming to the top of the hour. We'll go ahead and hang on for responding to the questions that we've got. If you'd like to stick around, you're welcome to. If not, feel free to check the recording if you want to catch anything that you missed. Roberto, were you able to create a prototype of a hand grip exoskeleton?
Yes, Paul. There was a design of a prototype. However, the major limitations we had were the materials to work with it, and also how to create the right amount of force to it. So seems to the engineers that it needed some more interface between the muscles on the body of the person and the glove, and that was the major limitation to it, because they can create it with an determined amount of force to close or open. The problem is in a farming setting, which was the case of the study, we have different levels. It's different to pick a strawberry than picking a rock, different amount of force. So that was the major limitation with it. And that is still a work in progress. And there are many advancements of late on that interface between muscle, electrical impulse, and the glove. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the next few years.
Okay. Thank you. I had several other comments and links in the chat for examples if people would like to check those out. We are past the hour by a minute. I will just quickly allow people to unmute. If you have a question before we close today, feel free to go ahead and unmute right now. Otherwise, we're going to be closing up pretty soon.
This is James Fry from North Carolina AgrAbility again. And so I guess just to broaden that question a little bit more, is there's one particular client that has issues with his knees right now. And I wonder specifically about that, but also if not one device that would be purchasable as a demo. And of course, I do intend to follow up with any particular companies you recommend for any particular product and see if we might be able to work out sort of a promo pricing for AgrAbility so that we can, test them out and promote them. But if not one device, I wonder what about multiple? So a knee assist or a back assist or the shoulder assist, things that you found that work well for a wide range of folks that might be at least reasonably affordable to get kind of one this year, one the next year, or something like that to gradually add to our toolbox.
Yeah. There's a few exoskeleton companies that have buildable where you can wear like a leg exoskeleton, a back and a shoulder exoskeleton interchangeably. But when I've worn them all together, and it creates a lot of challenges, and mobility is really, really difficult in those situations. That's one of the biggest barriers to exoskeleton adoption, is the pretty unique nature of each exoskeleton, that there's a limited range of tasks that it's compatible with. And obviously the price is a big deterrent to it. There's getting to be more affordable exoskeletons on the option available, but it's definitely, most exoskeletons are at least over $1,000 still new, and the price point has not come down a lot from that. I think the back exoskeletons are one of the more universal ones that has a wider range of tasks than shoulder or leg exoskeleton. So if you're looking to start there, I would try to build out your back exoskeleton selection of types, and happy to kind of connect you with some of the ones that I found to be most beneficial and applicable across a wide range of populations.
Great. And I believe Sarah's contact information is in the chat. Any other quick questions before we close up?
I have a question, Paul, but I do have a statement for those that do those on-the-farm assessments. To be honest, I got to see and witness Doug after the fact. I mean, he went through all of those sessions, like he said, that 37 or 39 fittings, and learned how to do it. He was super excited. So my doctoral OT student and I went to do some videotapes and have a conversation with him. And he put on the exoskeleton and walked with us. And it was frightful. Like you said, he was still in those beginning herky-jerky stages of learning how to walk with it. And to be honest, I was really afraid of him falling. So I don't even know. And that's something that Roberto and us were talking about beforehand. When we're out there recommending these devices, I mean, and we're asking professionals to take a look at it. And Doug already said that he's fallen a lot. And so when he was demonstrating to us how to walk, there were some herky-jerky moments where he kind of like did a little stumble, and then we all try to make sure that we catch him. That's something that, as Ned indicated earlier, and Ned can speak to that, that we do need standards on how we need standards of these devices, and then somebody of authority, and it's not me, because it's not my background, to say, yeah, this is a safe device, and yeah, this is something that we would recommend to our farmers when you're looking at all of the uneven surfaces and you're looking at all the things that they're doing. I just wanted to bring that up because, again, we bring a team together and we do include ag engineers or rehab engineers or ATPs, assistive technology practitioners, to go with us to then look at these devices. And we did get to see the device. It got demoed for us before he even made the recommendation or suggestion that he should look at this.
Okay. Thank you for that,
And I
Karen.
imagine
Appreciate
physical therapist was probably heavily involved in that type of a recommendation also.
And Sarah indicates ASTM has standards, and that sure her business can also help make recommendations in that area. Okay, well, we again appreciate everybody's participation today, especially from our presenters. Thank you very much. Again, we'll be archiving this on the agrability.org website. I'll be leaving the room open for a few minutes after we close, just so people can check the chat if you want to copy any of the links or the contact information there. But at this point, I think I'm going to stop the recording and say thank you again and wish you a good rest of the day.
Thank you.